Now, South Africa is gearing up to roll out a COVID-19 vaccine next year, and health experts are encouraging South Africans to embrace the vaccines when they do come. The South African Medical Research Council is giving the assurance that there will be rigorous monitoring. Well, to talk more on this, we are joined by the Council's Jeffrey Mpahlele. Prof, good morning. Thank you very much for your time this morning. The South African Medical Research Council has come across, from the reports I've seen, as assuring us as South Africa that everything will be done to monitor the rollout. Were there concerns ahead of this?
Not from the scientific community. The concerns are mainly from the public, and they are related to the speed with which the vaccines have been developed, because we know historically that it takes many years to develop a vaccine. So this time around, as we all know, it has taken less than a year to develop a COVID-19 vaccine. So the assurance is coming from the fact that even if it has taken such a short time, it doesn't mean that the development process has cut the corners. So it followed the usual process of testing the vaccines, because you start with safety testing in preclinical studies before you take the vaccine to humans, and then after that, if the vaccine is safe, then you do phase 1, phase 2, and phase 3 clinical trials in humans. So those tests and stages have been done on the vaccines that are now being rolled out in the public.
Okay, now part of the public's concern in South Africa recently might have grown after the Chief Justice Mogoeng prayed against what he called a devil vaccine, and suggesting that the people who are manufacturing the vaccine could be adding stuff that they're not supposed to add, like DNA transforming agents. Would that also be been top of mind for you guys as you are assuring us from a scientific basis that all is good with the vaccines?
When a vaccine is licensed, usually we follow 3 key pillars. So it's about safety and efficacy, and the third pillar is the quality. So the quality means that the manufacturing processes has to be rigorous and robust, and part of that is actually to describe in details what is contained in the vaccine vial. So because of that, I think the public can be rest assured that for every vaccine that is licensed, it is clearly known what is in the vaccine vial, what is going to elicit the immune response, and what are the other vaccine excipients. So all those are quite detailed in the vaccine. Okay. So there shouldn't be any cause for concern.
Okay, now one is reading all kinds of reports about so many, I think there are about 5 vaccines now that are up and about, and there will be more that are expected. We might end up with like 13 or so, a dozen of them around the world. For South Africa, from a scientific perspective, are we going to be going for a particular vaccine, for example, that will be a single dose vaccine and protect us?
It's not really from scientific basis, it's from logistical basis. So if you say scientific basis, you're talking about safety and efficacy. So the vaccines that are rolled out in, say, the global north, for example, the safety and efficacy are not issues at the moment, even if these are based on preliminary data that has been released or published. But from logistical point of view, it would be to our advantage as a country to include the vaccine, or to roll out a vaccine that is more or less compatible with the existing infrastructure and the current, cold chain infrastructure that we already have, because it doesn't. It will mean that we don't have to, get minus 70 freezers, for example. If I have to use example of, say, the Pfizer vaccine, but it is purely on logistical basis. It's not from the side.
Yeah. Does such a vaccine exist currently that will suit our conditions logistically?
At the moment, we don't have any vaccine that is licensed that will suit our conditions. We know that the AstraZeneca vaccine most likely will suit our conditions. We know that other vaccines that are still in the pipeline might suit our conditions as well. So we just have to see, which vaccine will be approved for use in our setting before we can actually say this is the vaccine that we're going to use.
Yeah, and South Africa has been part of the global search for a vaccine, I think, through multilateral efforts under the World Health Organization, and there's been clinical trials, and from what you know scientifically as the Medical Research Council, those processes that we've been part of, are they on track to give us that kind of vaccine that we would need to stop the transmission of this new coronavirus?
So indeed, you are correct. We are currently conducting 4 clinical trials in South Africa, and the clinical trials are promising. I mean, those who have not yet released the results, but we know that the AstraZeneca and the Pfizer have released their results, and the results are also encouraging. These are preliminary results. So South Africa has been quite proactive, especially in the clinical development of COVID-19 vaccine. And we stand a good chance if we can use one of the vaccines, for example, that has been tested in our population, because we know that it has been trialed here in our population. But that doesn't mean that we should exclude other vaccines. I'm just saying that if it turns out that a vaccine that is most suitable is the one that has been tested in our setting, it will be even an added advantage.
Yeah, I mean, the country is blessed with scientists, highly qualified and efficient and effective scientists, yourself and other professors in this medical field in general. We're really blessed with that kind of good, solid talent. We contribute very well globally, and we compete very well globally, and we've been recognized worldwide for our contribution from a scientific basis. Why shouldn't we produce our own vaccine as a country?
Very good question. So there could be many reasons, but for me, the most important reason is probably related to the budget, because to do the preclinical development of a vaccine requires a lot of money. The clinical development is usually sponsored by the pharmaceutical companies and foundations and other sponsors. When the vaccine is ready to be tested, but to design and construct the vaccine from the beginning requires a lot of investment, financially speaking. So that is part of the reason, because if you look at the budget for research and development in South Africa, it doesn't quite compete with the budget from other countries, which are actually taking the lead in development of the vaccine.
Yeah, maybe COVID-19 is teaching us a lesson. There's an opportunity for scientists like yourself in the country to really see if the money can be invested there. Professor Mphahlele, thank you very much for your time this morning, and we wish you safe holidays if you are going to be taking some time out. Thank you for your time this morning. That's Professor Jeffrey Mphahlele from the South African Medical Research Council.